Hey, I'm George, and this is BoomerBust. I'd like to talk to you today about generational wealth. You know, most people have a conception of generational wealth as something that you needed a lot of money to start off with. And that's not true. That's not the case. But it does start with a decision, and usually it's a very small one. And for me, it was an extremely small one. But this video isn't about getting rich. It's about why starting small matters more than most of us realize. And how I think Bitcoin fits into that shift in a way that most people our age were not taught to think about. Have you ever wondered whether a small move today could actually matter decades from now? I have, for sure. This conversation is for you then. Bitcoin in the beginning, for me, was difficult to grasp because I thought, what the heck is it? What's it all about? But I want to talk to you about Bitcoin from the point of view of an older person, not as a trader, not as a tech guy, but as someone who's thinking about legacy, about whether there's a way to create something meaningful for my children, for my grandchildren, without needing to be wealthy already, because I'm far from that. And why now might be the right time to start thinking that way. But before we go, here's the quick disclaimer. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. I've been bankrupt twice, so I am probably the last person that you should listen to on the internet talk about money. Do your own due diligence. Talk to a professional if you need to. All right, let me start with a story. The Bitcoin pizza story. Back in May of 2010, a computer programmer bought two pizzas. He spent 10,000 Bitcoin to buy two pizzas. Now, at that time, the price of Bitcoin was 0.003 to 0.004, somewhere in that range, like $30 to $40. Now, I'm from Connecticut, and pizza matters. You got Pepe's, you got Sally's, you got Modern, you got Grand Beats, and we understand the rest of the country. You guys are trying to work it out, and we support you, okay? But there are standards that must be met. But those two pizzas are actually quite historic, because that was the first time that somebody used a Bitcoin, or a bunch of Bitcoin, to buy something. Today, those 10,000 Bitcoin would be worth just under $1 billion. And even in Connecticut, that is one big pie. People laughed at Bitcoin back then. It was a joke. I don't think they're laughing as much anymore. One of the biggest arguments I hear against Bitcoin is this. What's it backed up with? What's its intrinsic value? And that's a fair question. I was asking it. But let me ask you this. What backs the U.S. dollar? In 1971, we came off the gold standard. Before that, the dollar was directly tied to the value of gold. Today, the dollar is backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. And that's where the problem begins. We are now the largest debtor nation on the planet. We owe roughly $37 trillion. And do you know who we owe this to, a lot of this to? We owe it to China and Japan. They hold a big chunk of that debt. And if that debt was ever called in, like when the bank calls you and said you're overdrawn, you got to get money to the bank. If China or Japan did that to the United States, we'd have a problem. We'd have a pretty serious problem. And to be honest with you, I am not as confident in that full faith and credit as I used to be. Bitcoin, by contrast, is backed by something totally different. It's backed by code, scarcity, and math, but also a decentralized network that no single government controls. It can't be inflated the way the dollar has been. Back in 1971, the dollar was worth about 95 cents. And adjusted for inflation, in fact, whatever you think it is, you type it in the comments down below. You let me know what you think it's worth now compared to 1971. I think you'll be shocked. Bitcoin's value comes from the fact that it's outside of these systems of institutions and nation states. And there's an old saying, follow the money. And when you do, you start noticing something really interesting. BlackRock, the largest investment company in the world, they got some trillions of dollars under their control, have been buying Bitcoin a lot, every week. Fidelity, another big brokerage, been doing the same thing. They've launched ETFs. Now, BlackRock's ETF, IBIT, brought in more money in its first week than any other ETF in history. And they're still buying into it. Nation states are paying attention to Bitcoin also. El Salvador. El Salvador was one of the poorest nations in Central America. And when they started a Bitcoin reserve, it has totally changed the economic outlook for that nation. It's crazy. I was reading some statistics on it the other day, and people are getting raises. The country is growing. It's got a base to it that's supporting it. Sweden has discussed it. Japan's pension fund, the largest pension fund in the world, is starting a Bitcoin position. And Donald Trump, he has openly said he wants a U.S. national Bitcoin reserve, and he wants the U.S. to be the digital leader in finance. When institutions, governments, and high net worth individuals are all moving in the same direction, it's worth asking, what are these people seeing that we aren't? And that question is what got me started in this. I'm a simple guy, so I did simple math. I looked at Bitcoin's entire history and calculated its average daily growth rate over 16 years. Now listen carefully. This is not a prediction. We got enough prognosticators out there. This is not that. But compounding matters when you stretch time out far enough. Even small numbers start to matter. $100 today isn't about becoming rich. It's about having options. About planting a seed that might never matter, or it might matter a lot. And here's the key point. Even if Bitcoin grows at a fraction of what it's done historically, the math still surprises people. And this isn't about exact numbers. It's about understanding how time works. And for me, it really isn't about the money. For me, though, it's more about legacy. I've got grandchildren. I don't have a fortune to leave them. I got a couple guitars, a few bucks in the bank. I got a 2006 Chevrolet HHR. Big bank in here, baby. But I believe a small seed planted today could change the direction of future generations. And that's what generational wealth actually is. Not excess, but a trajectory. When you see institutions and nations accumulating Bitcoin, it's worth asking where you fit in. Not with fear, not with hype, but with intention. Now, I dollar cost average. I put a little bit at a time, but I put it in consistently. And I'm getting comfortable with my position. But just think about what a small decision today might mean for your grandchildren tomorrow. If you found value in this conversation, in this content, hey, like, share, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on it down in the comments. I'm George Tift, and this is BoomerBust. Peace to you. Boomer out.